Did you hear it, Bill?
Yes, you are
Okay.
recording.
Alrighty. Thank you for the sterling introduction. It's wonderful. Let's see. We're going to jump right in tonight. Couple things that we'll talk about before we get to the question and answer time. Just a few ways to get yourself organized when you're looking for information on the web, some tips and tricks to do searches effectively. And I will spend quite a bit of the presentation portion going through some topics one by one, places that you can look for information on different topics. And then I have a few websites that I want to point out to you. But keep in mind that many of the websites that we go over and some additional ones, I will put together in a PDF and send that to you tomorrow along with these slides. So just like last time, you don't have to take notes or write websites down. This will all get sent to you. But if you do think of questions, feel free to write them down for the end, or you can pop them in the chat and Bill will interrupt me and ask. Okay, so some pretty elementary suggestions here, but to get organized, I would pick a system so that you're not looking in all these different places for things. I've been guilty of that in the past. So try to stick with either paper, binder with some folders, or a notebook with folders, or a digital folder where you could put spreadsheets, Word documents, and other pamphlets, brochures, things that the forester or myself sends to you. That way you know where everything is and you don't have to spend a ton of time looking for it when you're trying to answer some questions. Some tips, write down questions. So hopefully you all wrote down at least one to ask us tonight and take notes as you find the answers. Chances are another question or two might come up. So the more you can keep things together, as I said, the easier it'll be to come back to it. So write down questions, take notes as you find the answers, save all the materials that you get that are relevant to the questions that you're asking and the information that you're looking for. If you are a very organized person, it might be helpful to organize information by topic or perhaps by project, maybe by year, some way that you can catalog and quickly access what you're looking for. And then finally, seek out some experts for help or help getting started if you get stuck in trying to find what you're looking for. And we'll get a little bit more into who the experts are in some areas of the topic part of the presentation. Some tips and tricks. Make sure you specify exactly what you're looking for. So try to use specific phrases, and you can even add different institutions. So if you're looking for, say, a publication or a brochure on some sort of educational materials, how to cut timber, how to do a timber sale, you might want to add something like extension or DNR to help Google or whatever search engine you are using navigate you to the proper place. It's helpful to look at multiple sources for the same information, and it might seem a little bit redundant. However, sometimes you might find slightly different answers, or you might find one answer is rather short where one has a little bit more information that you were looking for. Something that I like to do, maybe it's just me being a little overly organized, is to save everything until your project's done, just in case you have to find something before it wraps up, and then throw away the stuff or delete the stuff that you don't need once everything is done. That way you know you won't need it again. And then just to reiterate, keep detailed notes. Okay. One thing I want to point out when you're looking for information, say on Emerald Ash Borer, as I mentioned before, when you do a search, try to be as specific as possible. So here you will see that I typed in what is Emerald Ash Borer. And if you look, it pops up with a picture. And then the first website is actually the DNR, the Forest Health page. And it immediately will suggest by giving you this as the first website that you go to this website. So this is life cycle and identification, excuse me. So doing a broad search will give you broader answer results. However, if you do a refined search, for example, where is emerald ash borer found in Wisconsin? Again, we get to the DNR, but it comes up with the potential impact of emerald ash borer, a detections lookup tool, the DATCAP homepage. So you can refine your search or you can keep it broad based on what you're looking for. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so let's go through some of these topics that I want to cover. When you're looking for help, here are a few good places to start. The first website that you see here is the Forestry Assistance Locator. This will give you access to any Wisconsin DNR and cooperating forester that works within the state. And it will also give you the option to filter by specialists. So folks who work in managed forest law, folks who work in forest health, that sort of thing. There's also a website for consulting foresters who are foresters that do similar work. However, they charge a fee for their services, and they are not associated with the DNR and the standards that DNR and cooperating foresters have. Not to say anything negative, they just have a different approach to things. There's a way to look up, if you're looking for loggers, you can look for their credentials. Here's a way to start. You can look to see if somebody is a master logger. I will say that that is not the only way to find one. And if that is something that you'd like to talk about, please ask and we can talk about ways that you can locate and look up credentials of loggers. And then another place to start when you're looking for help is the NRCS. Lots of acronyms. The Natural Resources Conservation Service District Conservationist. They're also called DCs. I believe there's one in every county or every area, but there is somebody who works in NRCS in every county. We'll get a little bit more into that later. But these folks, if you haven't worked with them before, they do natural resources conservation more so on the agriculture side, but they also have some overlap in forestry. They do financial assistance, technical assistance, and they also work with the DNR foresters across many programs. So if this is something that you're interested in, you can start with the DNR forester and ask them if they've worked with the folks in the NRCS in the county, or you could just go ahead and go to this website, reach out to them. I know that they do a lot of things with soils, prairies, restoration work, but we will get a little bit more into that later.
Hey, Lauren,
Yeah.
could you I didn't understand the cooperating foresters. Are they different than consulting foresters, or what's that relationship?
So, Andy, feel free to jump in if I mess this up, but cooperating foresters have an agreement with the DNR to hold certain stewardship standards that the DNR foresters hold. And I can't remember if they charge a fee for their services, but I know that they have a written agreement with the DNR as far as stewardship goes.
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it. So all cooperating foresters are consulting foresters, but not all consulting foresters are cooperators. So yeah, they just have an agreement, with DNR to abide by best practices, and um, they have a 4-year degree. That's a requirement, and they do continuing education. So they're kind of staying on top of the latest and greatest info. But they do still charge a fee like all consulting foresters.
Okay. I wasn't sure about that. Thank you. And if anybody wants to go to this website, when we get done here, we can talk. We can go to this, and I can actually pull up St. Croix County so you can see where you will find Andy's information, and then where you'll find the cooperating foresters information. So you'll be able to see the difference there too. Okay, another good place to look when you're trying to find help. If you're interested in working with a forester or other natural resources professionals. If you go to woodlandinfo.org, we have some publications here on experiences that landowners have working with different agencies, what to expect when you contact a forester, just some kind of background information if you're a little gun shy and would like a little push to get you started. That's another good place to go. Another thing that I want to mention is that many websites and many organizations have event sections. So much like the event that you are at tonight, this Learn About Your Land class, on our website, we have an events tab where you could click and find, these are a little outdated, but where you could find what events we have coming up. The same thing with other organizations like Wisconsin Woodland Owners Association, Wisconsin Tree Farm Committee, and then kind of along the same lines, most websites also have a place where you can sign up for their e-newsletter. So if there are groups that you've worked with or groups that you're interested in learning more about or working with them in the future, you can sign up for their e-newsletter to stay informed about not only their events, but a lot of them put out really good content on seasonal topics, things that are coming up, within the world of forest health, urban forestry, forest management, that kind of thing. So just a shameless plug for event sections on websites and e-newsletters. Financial assistance. These are a few places to start. Before I go over this quickly, I want to mention that tomorrow I will be sending you not only the slides for this presentation, but I gave a presentation with the MFL specialist in your area, Matt Molbach, and I did the overview of state and federal financial assistance programs, and then Matt did the portion on managed forest law. I'm going to send that to you, so if you have questions about that, please ask tonight, but know that you will have more information on this coming to you. So some places to start for financial assistance: the Wisconsin DNR, their website, excuse me, you can go there to learn more about the state funding. So a couple of examples of those, which I believe Andy mentioned last week, or we were talking about it in the question and answer session, was the Wiffle Gap program. And then I think a couple of you are enrolled in managed forest law. So just to keep in mind, this is a good place to start when you're looking for more information on financial assistance for woodlands at the state level. Natural Resources Conservation Service, or NRCS, is a great place to start when you're looking for financial assistance that either is at the federal level, or if you're looking for something to work with an existing state funding that you have, or something that you want to cover woodlands and agriculture. NRCS is the place to go. And I will admit, I've worked with them a few times, but I don't know a ton about what they do. I know that they have a few programs that they're in charge of. Two of them are listed right here. And if you want to know more about that, you can go to this website or read over the PowerPoint that I send you tomorrow. I apologize, this is in the way. Let me see if I can move it. Okay. Right here, you will find a link to another Learn About Your Land class recording, People, Programs, and Planning. We didn't do that one in this series, but we've done it in the past where we go over this in some depth, much more than the PowerPoint that I'll send you. So if you'd like to watch something similar to what you're doing tonight, you can click on this and it'll take you to one of the recordings. And then, as I mentioned, I'll send that PDF over to you with the overview that Matt and I put together. Oh, there we go.
Can I ask you a question about
Sure.
the role of the cooperators and consultants? Is one of those people kind of walk an owner through a sale and finding a logger and all that, or is that up to the owner? I remember hearing somewhere where we're supposed to have a consult with us when we do all that stuff. Is that a rumor? Or is that a strong suggested practice.
That to me is more of a strong suggested practice. There are ways to do it on your own. However, it has been described as overwhelming and scary from a few people that I've heard. I would say it's always worth talking with someone at the very least and getting information from, say, a consulting forester or a cooperating forester to see what services they offer as far as timber sales. Yeah, Andy, do you have any suggestions on that? I don't want to say we tell people to go that route. We do because it's tough to do it on your own.
Yeah, for instance, we contacted a logger and he said he had time in the summer to do it. And we were like, well, that's not a good time to cut, but how, we wouldn't maybe necessarily know that, but we're not going to hire somebody to cut our wood down in the summer. And so that kind of stuff it's suggested by the logger, but
Red flag.
so it's a red flag, but
Yeah.
an owner wouldn't necessarily know that. So it seems like it would be a good idea to have somebody. So would Andy be somebody who would fill that role, or is it someone, do you have a list of cooperators and consultants who would do that kind of thing?
Yeah, Andy, do you guys oversee timber sales and things like that?
So DNR certainly gives advice on, timing and technical advice, when to do a harvest and, what kind of harvest. But we don't oversee timber harvesting. So I would suggest hiring a consultant most of the time for timber sales. Especially if you're new to it, it also depends on what kind of timber harvest you're looking to do. So if it's a really basic, say pine thinning, then I don't think you really need a consultant. But the more complex and the more value of the timber you're looking at, then I would definitely, the more you'd want to look at a consultant. And for any kind of hardwood harvesting, I don't really want to put a blanket on it, but like if you're doing any timber harvesting and with hardwoods, you probably want to look at hiring a consultant at that point.
So
Thank
Andy,
you.
would a good, I think what we've mentioned in the past is DNR foresters, and thank you for clarifying that because I wasn't sure about the timber sale piece with your role. But what we generally suggest is if you do a walkthrough with a DNR forester like Andy, as he said, he can provide some of that technical advice and the background information and certainly talk about a lot of what could happen with a timber sale. But so that would be a great place to start. And then based on that, perhaps Andy, you could make recommendations on based on landowner goals and what you're seeing, if you think it's worth reaching out to a consultant to come in and oversee that timber sale.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
Okay.
So DNR is pretty much the good first step. And then for actually getting it done, consultants or just working directly with the logger yourself.
Okay, thanks. Great question. Okay, so a couple more websites and publications for you to check out sometime if this is something you're getting into. Here's the National Timber Tax website if you want to do some rough estimates after you talk with Andy or a consultant to kind of feel out where you are with your property in an upcoming sale. Another way to find out how much your trees are worth, again, contact your local forester, have them do a walkthrough and do an estimation. There are a couple of publications here that you can go to at another time if this is something you're interested in. I'm going to keep cruising through here for the sake of time. All right, trees and plants. So that tree key that we sent out to you, I believe that was last week, was pulled from the UW Green Bay Trees of Wisconsin. So if that is something that you enjoyed and you want to find out more information, you can go to this website. You can find them listed by Latin or common name. And then they have each species, photos, just some general information, things like that. And then there is also a similar website, the Flora of Wisconsin, and you can do a similar thing where if you have information or you're looking for more on a certain species, you can go there and cruise around that website. Okay, so health. DNR Forest Health, we talked about this website before. This is a great place to start if you are seeing something that is concerning, if you want to learn more about the forest health issues in your area or surrounding area. It's a great place to start. The DNR Forest Health Specialists are a wealth of knowledge, and they love to talk to folks about things that they're seeing and help them diagnose problems. University of Minnesota, if has a diagnose a garden problem. So if you're looking at more of a yard or garden uh, system, you could go to this website to help you figure out what's wrong with your plant, or if it's a weed, what insects are living in your garden. So two good places to start if you're looking for answers about health. Okay, invasive species. We talked about this last week too. If you are looking for some overviews or in-depth information on different species, different pests that we talked about, Woodland Info is a great place to start. So if you have learned recently that you have something in your area that you weren't aware of and you want to know more, you can start here. DNR, again, also has a great overview of invasive species. And then one that I want to mention that we haven't talked about, I don't think, is IPAW, which is Invasive Plants Association of Wisconsin. And they have a lot of information on invasive species in the state, but they also have information on these things called SISMAs. So if you haven't heard of a SISMA, it's basically a few counties came together and said, hey, we really don't like invasive plants. We want to do something about it. And they are generally nonprofits that do educational events. They do work days, field days, lots of engagement with the public to teach about invasive plants and to help people learn to identify them. So in your area, it looks like the St. Croix red cedar has a SISMA. And so if this is something that you're interested in, I suggest you go to IPAW, find their contact information, and see if they're hosting any events in the near future. All right, wildlife. Uh, Another couple of shameless plugs. One, for our Learn About Your Land class, we have a recording on how to invite wildlife to your woodlands. If you're interested, you can come back here, click on this, and it'll take you right to that class. Some publications on our website about wildlife and forest management. Again, I'm like a broken record, but maybe it'll stick. You can go to the DNR website and search wildlife, or again, start at ours and search ecology, search wildlife, and you will find perhaps more information than you were looking for, but it's a place to start. Prairies. DNR has a section on prairies and communities. And something interesting, in our state, we have farm bill biologists that work through Pheasants Forever. And I think, yeah, right here. So you can click on this Find a Biologist tool. And I know I worked with the one in Dunn County, but I think he may have moved. They do some really cool work with the NRCS programs that I mentioned earlier. So those federal programs looking at prairies, looking at pollinator species, general ecosystem health. If you have any interest in prairies or restoring fields, that kind of thing, this Find a Biologist tool is really helpful to get you in contact with somebody who could talk to you about the plots that you're looking at, potential programs that are available, cost sharing, planting services, that kind of thing. Another group is the Prairie Enthusiasts. They have some events. I think they stopped for a little while for obvious reasons, but I believe they are gearing back up. They have a blog and other educational resources on their website if you'd like to learn more about prairies. Okay, bugs and insects. UW-Madison has an insect ID tool. So if you go to this website, you can browse by the name, type, or photo. We also have a diagnostic lab where if you find something and you're not sure, you can send photo ID requests, which is pretty cool. You can take your phone out, take a picture, send it in, and get answers pretty quickly on what it is that you're seeing. And then again, we on our website, woodlandinfo.org, we have many publications. Once you do find out what it is that you're looking at, you could go here and download some of these publications to find out more about them. All right, a couple of specific St. Croix County tools that I want to point out. There is a mapping tool available, so you can look for general map features. This is helpful for things like property lines and looking at property information. There's also an advanced map tool, and if you can see on the left, there are a ton of different layers that you can turn on and off to see different features of the county. And there is a tool on there that is a property search. So if that's something that you're looking at as far as buying land, selling land, doing anything, looking at water, soil, that kind of thing, this is a great place to start. Okay, and I want to conclude with, I promise you, my final shameless plug. DNR Forestry website, when you go just to that home page, there's a couple of places that you can start to look for information and find it pretty quickly. These little blue buttons will take you to videos, publications where you can do a more in-depth search. But another way to do it is to look at the little icons that they have here, the pictures, and say, oh, okay, I want to learn about forest planning. And you can click there. And from there, you will be taken to a website that has publications, videos, etc. on that specific topic. So there's a couple ways to find what you're looking for. Either way you go about it is good, but this is a great place to start. Okay, and publications, topics of seasonal interest on Woodland Info, all great information, things that you can do in your spare time in the winter when it's too cold to be outside. Just a really easy way, use the search bar, type in either that broad search that you're looking for or that refined search, whatever it is that you're looking for, both really great places to start. Oops, sorry. Here's just a sample of our publications page. And then when you get here, if you would click on, we don't have the pretty pictures, but we probably should. You just click on one of these little tabs here and it'll take you to publications on all of the bullet points that you see below them. Okay. I promised 30 minutes for questions and here we are with 30 minutes for questions. So going to attempt to stop sharing here.
Lauren, you mentioned you would show us the forestry assistance locator.
Yeah. Let me get that pulled up. And Bill, I'll just need you to tell me that you can see the right screen. Give me just a second here. All right, how do we look?
I'm seeing it.
Perfect. Here is the DNR Forestry Assistance Locator. Is this a good size? Is this a good size or should I zoom in a little bit?
No, that's good.
Okay. So someone asked the question, learn about the differences between DNR foresters. We didn't ask about specialists, but you can find out more. And cooperating foresters, private sector consultants. So if you go to the Forestry Assistance Locator and you want to read a little bit more about each of those positions, you could click on any of those links there. So let's scroll down here. Okay, so first step is we're going to enter St. Croix County. And at this point, we don't really know what we're looking for as far as if it's DNR forester or cooperating forester. So we're just going to search for any. Let's see, for cooperating foresters, select certifications. Not yet, maybe later down the road. So let's do a search, see what comes up. Hey, look at that. Andy's the first name on the list. So here's where you will find DNR Service Forester, DNR Tax Law Forestry Specialist, and then if you scroll down, here's where you'll find a list of the cooperating foresters serving St. Croix County. So Andy, can you jump in and tell us if the consultants are on this page as well? Do I have to keep
Yeah,
scrolling?
yeah. So each one of these are consulting foresters,
Oh, okay, it
but
says it right there.
they have the cooperating forester, agreement with the DNR. So, yeah,
Okay,
I I guess you're also seeing industrial forester. That just means they work for a sawmill, so they're not totally independent. If you work with them, chances are they'll just mark the timber and send it to their own sawmill.
okay. Interesting. All right, so if I wonder if I click on one of these. There we go, services provided. Rhinelander, that's up by you, Bill.
I think that's an
Yeah,
important distinction to if it's an industrial forester versus a private consulting forester.
it is. It is. Yeah.
Yeah, could you talk a little bit more about that, Andy?
Sure. Yeah. So, industrial foresters, um, they're kind of in between like a consulting forester and like a logger, I guess. They're so a industrial forester, like I said, they work for a sawmill. They're going to have their own logging crew, and they're going to pick like the best one. They're going to pick a logging crew based on kind of their where they are with their work. So it's not really going to be based on like the best thing for your land or something like that. It's going to be what's best for them essentially, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like I said, if you just have a pretty straightforward timber harvest you need to get done, you know exactly what you want to do, based on say what I told you, what the DNR forester told you, then it's perfectly fine to go with an industrial forester, especially ones on this list, because they have an agreement to work to use best management practices, yada yada. But say you want to get the best return on value, you should go with a consulting forester, because what a consultant can do is they can essentially bid it out to different sawmills, and then you can take the best bid, the highest bid, that sort of thing. So whereas I'm not sure if an industrial forester is going to do that, because they work for a sawmill, they want the wood for their own sawmill. So that's not really something they're going to do. But I'd say both are good if you really want like independent forester who works for you only. That's don't do the industrial forester. I wanted to mention one more thing, but I'm blanking on that. Oh, there's when you go back to that list, Lauren, there's a crap ton on here, and all the way up to Rhinelander, right? So, and basically that's because when they're filling out the list, when they're applying to be a cooperating forester with the DNR, a lot of them will just select statewide, even though they might not necessarily like go that far, especially St. Croix County. So definitely start with ones that are closest to you. Otherwise, you probably won't get a lot of calls back. But like Barron, that's pretty close. But Ben Preston, he works a lot in St. Croix County, so that's a good one. But we're not supposed to like single ones out, but basically as close as possible is what you want to start with.
That makes sense. Okay. Any questions on this tool?
Yeah, I had a question about hiring a consultant. Is there any kind of like a minimum acreage that you would suggest, like in terms of whether it's worthwhile to hire a consultant to work on the is it 25 acres, would you say is like the minimal to work with somebody as a consultant before we connect with a timber logger?
You want me to take that one?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, thank you.
It's hard to give an exact number. Where's your land located, Susan? I mean, I know you got the land in St. Croix County there. Is that where you're thinking? You're muted, by the way, Susan, if you're trying to answer that.
Sorry, 43 acres in Stanton Township.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so in St. Croix County, you know, the minimum to even get a timber harvest done is probably going to be like 20 acres, I would say. So, I'd say it's more about the type of timber harvest rather than the acreage. Because if you're just doing 20 acres of a pine thinning, I would say you could probably, especially if it's like a first or second thinning, I'd say you can just go direct with a logger or one of those industrial foresters. But if you're doing like 40 acres of, you know, hardwoods, then definitely would recommend a consultant. And like I said, it's going to be hard to get in St. Croix County. It's going to be hard to get anything under like 20 acres done anyway. So I'd say that's kind of your baseline of feasibility. If you are less than that, you have to basically reach out to your neighbors or anyone nearby that's doing any timber harvesting and take advantage of any loggers that, you know, is working on their property. So, and at that point, it's like there's no real sense in hiring a consultant because you're just going to be using whatever logging crew is nearby anyway, so you don't really have a choice of who you're working with at that point.
Yeah,
we're gonna
we're gonna be working with about 22 acres of hardwood and 12 of pine. So we're gonna try to combine the cutting with both of those. They're on the same property but in slightly different locations. There's a prairie between them, so we're trying to combine it all so that it'll be worthwhile for the timber company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the more acreage, the better, you know, for St. Croix County, just because we're so far from the sawmills that, you know, not a lot of loggers want to come all this way. So, and one thing I should mention is that it's worthwhile to talk to a consultant, whether or not you're even going to hire them, because they know who's around, who's cutting, and that's useful because we can, like me, the DNR forester, can give you a list of loggers, but I don't always know who's actually like cutting right now in the neighborhood. So if you talk to, you know, someone nearby, a consultant that works in St. Croix County quite a lot, they're going to know, you know, which loggers you want to talk to. So that's worth it for that, I would say too, even if that's as far as you go with the consultant, that's, you know, that's a good idea too.
Thank you.
So this is Chris Libby speaking. And a quick question. My impression, Andy, you've been here, looked at my woodlot. Would it make sense for any one of us to start with someone like yourself, come up with a plan that we want to use going forward as opposed to just jumping in on our own?
Yeah, I've been out there. I would say, the DNR forester, we can come out as many times as you need. I think I would say like once or twice a year though is probably um, most feasible like for our schedules. So yeah, I haven't been out there in a while. You could definitely give me a call and we could evaluate kind of where it's at. If you should start thinking about a timber harvest. I think last time I was out there, I was thinking we should, but what exactly should happen? I don't know if we crossed that bridge yet. So I'd
I
say,
think, I think you recommended 2025
okay.
for a partial harvest, and then 2040, which by that time it'll be somebody else's problem because I'll be punching up daisies.
So if it's 2025, you'd want to start, yeah, you'd want to start talking to either consultant or loggers about 2 years ahead of time. So yeah, I'd say this is the year. Look at the plan, whatever it said as a harvest, and call up a forester, call up a logger, and say, hey, this is what I've got. Is this feasible? And both the logger and the consultant will kind of give you the same yes or no answer. They'll say, no, this isn't ready yet. This isn't worth it. We're gonna have to wait a few years, or they'll, if they are interested, they'll want to walk it, and um, they'll go direct with you at that point.
Andy, is the master logger website the best place to try to find a logger? Is there another resource? I know you should probably start with a forester, but some people want to go directly to a logger. Is there other resources on the web to go to like that, or is that really it, the master logger list?
Most DNR foresters will have their own list of loggers. I have one that I give out quite frequently. So I would say, if you're in St. Croix County, contact me, or I can send you that list, Lauren, and you can, send it out if you want. We just got a new one for 2023. It has, all of them on there. The master logger list, I would say, is not the best place, just because it is a pretty rigorous qualification to get, and you're going to get a really good logger if you're able to, but I don't think there's many master loggers around here. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's more common in kind of the Northwoods where
right.
where there's a lot of timber. So I don't think you're going to find a lot that work down here, except maybe the couple in Barron County there.
Yeah, that's a great point. If you could send that list, I'll be sure to share it. I think it sounds like a few people might be interested in hearing about that or taking a look at it.
Yep, I can send it.
Okay, what other questions do we have? Or were there any websites that were in the PowerPoint that you want to take a look at while we're here?
Hi, this is Maureen. We
Hi.
have our hardwood forest in Vernon County, and a lot of our wood we're going to have a cut coming up in 26, and a lot of it is walnut. Is there anything specific to walnut we should be asking when we hire a consulting forester?
Andy, do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't work with walnut a lot. I do know, walnut starts to get valuable, in Pierce County, so to the south of me, and I do know it is quite valuable. So it's definitely a good thing to bring up. I would just say I would ask your forester, is there enough here, that it's going to be, worth it to harvest, and, how much are you able to get back on that? So how much money are we talking, basically? So it's definitely a topic I would want to want to talk to your forester about. So yeah, that is a good one.
So this is kind of where I was beating my drum of, nope, not the assistance locator. When I'm trying to find the answer to a question like that, a lot of times I'll jump straight to DNR or Woodland Info. So I already looked at Woodland Info. I didn't see a ton about Walnut. I want to see what we have here. It's a little small. Sorry about that. Hmm. Yeah, so this is just an idea on how I would start looking through, see if you can find, are these any of the questions you have? If not, maybe go back, check a couple more. And if you can't find the answer you're looking for, then I would reach out to one of the natural resource professionals or the groups that DNR, NRCS extension, and one of us can try to help you find the answer to what you're looking for.
This is Chris again. I noticed on that it was $1,000 per MBF. I assume is that million board feet?
So it's 1,000. M stands for 1,000, so it's 1,000 board foot. Yeah, so a good sawable, 15 diameter straight tree is going to be anywhere from like 500 board feet to maybe 1,000. So yeah, walnut can be really valuable when they say $1,000 a tree. It certainly could be if they're all really nice. Like I said, they can be up to 1,000 board feet a tree. So if they're tall enough and straight enough.
I'm kind of bouncing around here, but I wonder if that would be a good question for one of the foresters in Vernon County.
Yeah, for sure.
Christine, she's done, Christine has done Learn About Your Land classes with us before.
Yeah,
I haven't met her in
great.
person, but
She's has done this for many years. So
yeah, she seemed like she really knew what she was talking about. So I wouldn't hesitate to reach out to her.
Could you put our contact information in the chat, Lauren?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I shouldn't have said definitely. How do I get out of here?
That's okay. We can contact her. I see the information. We can look it up that way, but thank you.
You're welcome. What other questions do we have? What else do we want to look at?
What about soils? You want to go to the soils website? Web
Yeah.
survey? I know it's, you could spend hours in there.
So are we talking about the same one? Andy actually sent one that I was working on putting together. Let me see. This is the list that I'm working on putting together for you guys to send. Is it this web soil survey?
Oh, we can't, I think that's it, but we can't see it.
Oh, okay. I don't know why you can't see it. Let me just. The joys of technology. Let's see. Share screen. You could see it before. So let's try this one. Can you see the Google? No.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Hide this again. And I'll be honest, I haven't done much here, Bill. So if you have any suggestions, places to start, things to look at.
Yeah, it takes a while, some time to get to know how to use it, but you have to draw on the map first your area of interest, and that basically means where do you want to search, and it'll generate a map with all the different types of soils on it. So and then there's all these different types of metrics that it outputs, such as different things for construction, heavy equipment, suitability. So,
Oh, that went from bird's eye to bird house really quick. Okay, I don't know where we are in Eau Claire, but we're somewhere.
so you're
How do
still
you?
on Zoom. So you go to there's a button to the right that says AOI,
Mm-hmm.
further to the right.
This one.
Yeah. And so I would zoom out a bit first because
Okay.
soils are on a kind of landscape scale feature or stand scale.
How about that?
Yeah, there you go. And then define, so then you use that and then draw your box, and hopefully that'll give us a map of our soils.
So then do does the output over here on the left, excuse me.
Yeah, so now it's just giving you a bit of information on your area on the left there, and then I think if you scroll down, it'll have like generate map or not.
Do I need to do a bigger area?
No, I think we're just missing a button. Sorry, I haven't used this a while myself, but
What are you looking for, guys?
oh, hey, so go to the top, Lauren,
Yeah,
and then there's a tab called Soil Map.
there we go.
And there you go. So there's that's a simple one, but you got a few different soils on there. So if you click on that, it'll give you all the information you need on what kind of soil it is, and then X out of that,
All you could ever want to know.
and then go to Soil Data Explorer in the next tab. And there's your all your different metrics you could use. So
Okay.
it's kind of fun to see, what
Yeah,
all
that is
different
interesting.
features.
Okay.
But I guess it's a lot, now that we're doing this, it's a lot. So if you have any questions about this, you want to use it, just give me a call and I can generate one for you on your own property. So maybe that's the best way to go,
Okay.
because I've used it quite a bit, but not for a while. So.
All right. Still got a few minutes if anybody wants to jump in.
This is Ralph. I'd have a question.
Sure.
Is there any value in popple trees or aspen? Is it mainly just a pulpwood tree, or it's really not used for lumber, is it, or is it?
It sometimes is used for kind of low grade lumber, but yeah, most of the time it goes to pulp. So depending on where you're located, so a lot of aspen in northwest Wisconsin goes to LP. I think that stands for Louisiana Pacific, and they make all sorts of crazy stuff with it. They make like siding material, kind of OSB type material, so that sort of thing. Otherwise, if you're in St. Croix County, there's a very small mill that makes animal bedding out of it in Glenwood City. So some popple will go to that. Otherwise, a lot of it will go to, a lot of it did go to the mill in Wisconsin Rapids that shut down during 2020. But now it goes to Nakusa. There's a pulp mill over there. So yeah, it's not too valuable, but there's always, the thing is, people will always buy it. So that's a good thing about it. So if you have, at least a few acres of it, then, and a few, I mean, like, 10 to 20 at least, there's usually someone that would buy it. But yeah, it's not going to be like super valuable.
Okay.
Thanks, Andy. Any more questions?
I have a question. This is Mary, right?
Hey, Mary.
So we've been pulling out buckthorn and garlic mustard and honeysuckle off our property. And with the buckthorn on some of the smaller ones, we've been pulling them out with a tractor. Is that just as effective as using the tricloper? Or are they more likely to come back, like, because there might still be small rootlets left in the ground? Do you know?
If you yank out with the tractor, that'll probably work pretty well, honestly. But the thing is, it'll disturb the soil, and you'll probably get a lot of other weeds in place of that area.
Oh.
But just because of that soil disturbance. But yeah, it'll get rid of the buckthorn, so it is effective. If you've found that to be working for you, keep doing it.
So I have a related question. I missed last week's presentation, so maybe you already spoke to it. Do you have, or is there a recipe that's recommended? That's one question. I got a couple of them related to this buckthorn management. The second question I have is, what is the timing when you don't have to worry about taking out desirable species? I know leaf drop, but is there a kind of a magic point in time in the fall that you can start spraying?
Yep. I do have a recipe I can give you. So the only time you really have to worry about timing is if you're spraying the leaves. And I think that's what you're referring to. And yeah, there is kind of a magic window, I call it, in the fall, where it seems to always be in October, where most everything goes dormant, yet buckthorn is still quite green and it's still active enough that it can take in the herbicide. Because if you wait too long after that point, it'll still look green, but the leaves will have this kind of waxy coating on it, and it won't be as effective at that point. So you really just have to watch it starting in October.
Andy, is that recipe in one of the PDFs that you sent me?
Yes.
Okay. Chris, did you get that email?
Well, I got it, but I have not had time to go back and look.
Okay.
I had my own family things going on the last week, so I was not available.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that. It should be in that email. If you don't see it, let me know and I will send it again.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's somewhat of a semi-related question too on spraying. In order to get decent control, do you have to go back multiple times over a couple of 3 years to get the job done, or can you spray it once and move on to another piece of property or another area on your property?
You'll have to come back, hopefully not to treat the same plants, but a lot of times there'll just be different levels of buckthorn that you might have missed. So if you have a really heavy buckthorn. A lot of times there's smaller buckthorn waiting underneath. Or there will be a seed source in the soil bank. And once the vegetation is above ground is killed off, those seeds will, once sunlight gets to the forest floor, the seed bank will be activated, and you'll have to come back for that. So depending on how bad it is, you'll have to come back a couple times, I'm guessing.
Is there some kind of a financial support for buckthorn removal or any kind of other invasive plants that you know of through state agencies?
Yep. Yeah, both DNR and NRCS has grants that that you'd qualify for as long as you have a written management plan, either MFL or something equivalent. If you're not in the program, you should qualify. And I'd recommend looking at the links that are in this slideshow, or just giving me a call some other time.
Are there any other questions tonight? All right, well, it's a few minutes after 8, so if there's nothing else on your mind, we can end tonight, and we will be back here Thursday for the final presentation with Andy on the language of foresters. So with that, I will stop the recording, and I'll see you all on Thursday night.